Before we jump into today's episode, please remember this podcast is not therapy and it doesn't replace working with a qualified professional. While I aim to keep things grounded in science and offer a lot of educational insight, the content here should never be generalized. Everyone's experience is different. If you're experiencing any mental or medical distress, please reach out to a licensed provider who can support your specific needs. Welcome back to ADHD Realities. I'm your host, Dr. Leann Borneman, clinical sexologist, ADHD relationship and sexuality expert. And this is the podcast we talk all things ADHD and sexuality in ways research is still lacking. So join me in today's episode and today I want to talk a little bit more about how perimenopause, parenting, and having a career and just the daily existential crisis of deciding whether to scream or nap is the existence for myself and many of my clients. And I just kind of wanted to hold space to just unpack a lot of things that I've been observing the last couple of years, not just with the work that I do with my clients, but my own life. And I wanted to kind of give space for that because if you are a mom with ADHD specifically and you feel like your nervous system is being lit up like a fucking Christmas tree, I just want you to know that you are not imagining it. You are not, I hate using this word, but broken, but you're not. You're just very over fucking stimulated and under supported in a world that wasn't built with your brain, your body, or your responsibilities in mind. And so I kind of just wanted to hold space to have a conversation about it. And so I'm just going to jump right in. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm going to go with the flow here. So let me just start at motherhood is not ADHD friendly. Let's repeat that. 1, 2, 3. Motherhood is not ADHD friendly. It just isn't. You know, we're raising these little humans in a world that rewards consistency, predictability, long-term planning. Those are literally executive functions that many of us have to brute force our way through. And the job, it never fucking ends. Kids don't care if you're sleep deprived, hormonally depleted, or holding on by a damn thread. They just don't care. It's not their job to care, right? They still need all of those fucking snacks, a signed permission slip, an answer to the what's for dinner, and a bunch of attention that they deserve and want. And unfortunately, we're expected to track every damn thing, right? Now, granted, I know that not all relationships are like this. I know that relationships can vary and that we have great partners that are supportive and show up, and we have moms who suck and dads who are better. Like, I get it. I'm putting that to the side. I'm specifically talking to those mamas over here that are holding everything fucking down, right? Expected to keep track of all those doctor appointments, the school projects, the play dates, which kid has sensory issues with crunchy food, who lost their fucking left shoe for the 3rd time this week. Where are the shoes just to begin with, right? We're expected. And that right there is a lot of pressure. I also think it's important to note that those moms that are supported, like myself, my husband is freaking amazing. Just because you're supported doesn't mean that that excuses the realities of still being very fucking overstimulated. Like, the support itself does not get to cancel out the realities and the realness around your lived experience. And quite honestly, like, everyone is different. My husband, he is not experiencing perimenopause. He is not experiencing hormones. Like, listen, I actually just saw a study recently, and I don't remember where it was. Maybe it was actually, no, I lied. It was not a study. It was a video. I don't know the objectivity behind it. I honestly will be fully transparent. I listened to it, and I was like, yep, that sounds right. So don't quote this as fact, but I did come across a video that talked about how women need specific amounts of sleep in comparison to males, and it will affect how we function. So, like, my husband does not and will not go through the changes my body is going through. So even though he can be so fucking supportive, which he is, I'm still very much exhausted. And that's a reality. And the invisible labor, the mental load, is suffocating for so many of us. The world may have moved forward in some ways, but a lot of us, we're all stuck in the system that expect moms to just manage everything and do it with a fucking smile, a clean house, no meltdowns in the driveway. So yeah, we're struggling. We're struggling hard, a lot of us. And when you then add in the hormonal grenade that is perimenopause for so many of us, welcome to the party of estrogen withdrawal. And if you're somebody that's entered perimenopause and you're not really necessarily feeling much of the change, you deserve a whole jar of cookies. I wish I had your life. And so again, here's that moment. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the women in the room where, oh girls, we have been feeling it. We are feeling it, right? And so here's what we do know from research. I do feel like at least some of this conversation should be research backed in some capacity. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of research, especially when it comes to perimenopause and menopause and ADHD. But we are looking at the research. It shows that the estrogen modulates dopamine, right? And so dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's already dysregulated for us ADHDers. So when estrogen starts to decline, sometimes it's as early as people in their mid-30s, by the way, it will exacerbate and mess with attention, the mood, the sensory processing, even more than you are already experiencing it. And this is one of the reasons why so many women aren't really getting diagnosed until later in life, because of the hormone and how cycles can even play a role and how all of these symptoms can present. Cycle hormonal fluctuations can actually mimic ADHD symptoms. So if you're somebody that you've been coasting and you've been doing pretty okay and you do have ADHD and then things start dipping in terms of your hormones, and all of a sudden for the first time you're struggling, this could be one of those significant reasons to why. But what we don't have yet is enough of the literature catching up to what so many clinicians and women are screaming, which is perimenopause dramatically amplifies sensory sensitivity and ADHD symptoms. Smells are stronger. Noise feels more piercing. Gentle touch from your kid can feel like you are being smothered with a wet sock. I think that was the first most disgusting thing I could think of. And what I just said, and I'm just going to say it, is I'm tired, and so are so many of my clients being tired of being gaslit by a cultural narrative that tells us this is just a part of life and we should be fine. Bitch, I am not fine, and let's scream it to the rooftops. Because we are not fine. We are fried. And that right there is not being weak. It's not doing our motherly womanhood duties. It's neurobiology meeting the hormone disruption, which then meets just the chronic overstimulation. And so we then have to look at the script to begin with, right? That narrative, that expectation. Why is the script broken? The old script of women are expected to keep it together, manage a household, maintain a job, raise well-adjusted kids, and do all that while like gracefully aging. It's bullshit. It is not the reality for a lot of us. I don't want to discredit the reality for maybe some women who choose that. That's their life. They enjoy it. But for the most of us and every woman that I've ever worked with, bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Because the reality is the systems were not designed for ADHD women. They weren't designed for moms. And they sure as hell weren't designed for ADHD moms going through perimenopause. We are still being held to standards that mirror the male experience when you really look at it, right? The one that isn't interrupted by massive hormonal shifts, monthly cycles, or being the default parent for a lot of us. And what happens when we can't meet those standards? We spiral. We internalize, because that's what we're good at. We learn this growing up, right? We think we're the ones failing. We mask even harder. Don't even get me started. Parenting in general is just you having to mask all the time. But we lose ourselves until one day we wake up and realize we've been performing motherhood like a damn unpaid Broadway role with no fucking intermission. Can you imagine how exhausting that is? It's exhausting. I mean, listen, if you're listening and you're like, yeah, yep, girl, yeah, you already know. I don't have to say it. You get it. And I think when we talk about this, it's important not to just get stuck in I'm going to use the word complaining. And I don't necessarily like that word, but that's the first word that I think of, because that is the word many individuals would say what I just did was. But actually what it is bringing voice and reality and validation to the very real experiences. But there is a level of how much attention do we give to that? What can we do? What can help, right? Without fixing what isn't broken. So I'm going to pivot for a second. I had my moment. If you need to pause this and you need your moment and you need to liberate the hell out of your experience and you're in your car right now or whatever you're doing and you want to get on your soapbox, do it, girl. Do it. But here's the thing. You don't need to be fixed, but your support system probably does. And so here's some suggestions that I've explored with my clients, I've explored in my own life that can help. Now, everyone is different. Understand this. This is why, I will never in a million years create a workshop, a program, a this, a that. That's here, because that is not how life works, right? Being in the mental health field, there is a biopsychosocial model. It is basically saying that there is a bunch of layers that create the experiences that you yourself are having, and they're unique to you and yourself. So a program, a workshop is not ever going to be tailored to you. It has to be treated like an a la carte service, for sure. So I'm going to give you some of those a la carte options. What fits, apply it. What doesn't, leave it on the thingy. The trolley, whatever the fuck the thingy is that comes out, a la carte service. The cart. The cart. All right, sorry, I digress. This is what happens when I don't really have a freaking plan and I'm just spewing. Welcome to the ADHD realities. So back on track, Leann, back on track. Okay, so how do we kind of navigate this differently? The support systems. Okay. First, start tracking your sensory thresholds if you're experiencing sensory overload. Try to notice what times of day, or even maybe situations more importantly than the time of day, that make you feel like you're coming out of your skin. Because a lot of the times it isn't as random as we think. And I don't want to promise you that you're going to be able to find consistency in your sensory overload, because I got to be honest, I don't think that's going to be really fair, unless sitting in a room of 3 kids always makes you overwhelmed. Then yeah, you will consistently be overstimulated. But just really think about it, right? Sensory logs are not just for occupational therapists. They're for survival, for us. I think to myself, I'm always more overstimulated when I am in my living room. And I know exactly why, because I've done this. I started tracking my sensory threshold. We've got the TV on for the kids to keep them stimulated, so maybe me and my husband can just decompress. Then me and my husband are trying to have a conversation, but because the background noise of the TV is on, I'm struggling to process things in real time, or I get pulled out of my mind, and then I'm now feeling overstimulated. But now on top of that, as I try to talk to my husband, my children are loud as all hell. My son, oh my God, he's the cutest little thing in the world, but he is role play of a dino all the time, and it's just roars and screams, and no matter how many times you say the inside voices, it doesn't matter. that environment, oh my gosh, worst. And I was able to log that. I was able to understand that. And because of that, I bought those, this is not sponsorship, by the way, but I personally got Loops, which is like a noise canceling headphone. It's a little different than the AirPods because the AirPods actually can overstimulate me if I put it in my ear and like I can hear myself. That is very overstimulating for me sometimes. That only works some occasions. So the Loops is like a little less of a noise cancellation. So I actually bought 2 pairs and I put them in 2 different places in the living room and I put them in sight in mine. So like I have one on the banister and I have the other one on the coffee maker because I'm either on the couch looking at the banister or I'm in the kitchen doing something and like the coffee maker is like in sight. So I see it. So I don't even have to now remember because keep in mind, people, when you're in environments that are overstimulating you, the last thing you're going to generally think of is, oh yeah, I know that I'm being overstimulated because of X, Y, and Z. And oh, yeah, there's this thing that can help, Leann. Go get it. No, because generally you are in a stress response and you're overstimulated and there's no logical thinking there. And we have working memory deficits. So keep in mind, there's a culmination here of all these things that kind of can create barriers. This is why, again, access, support system, place it in the environment. But that goes into like the redesign the environment piece, right? After you start tracking your sensory thresholds, redesigning your environment is going to be important. If you're the type of person that, let's say, lights is your trigger, dim the fucking lights. Say no to loud music in the car. Declutter the crap you trip over every day or throw it out if you can do that and not feel more distressed, because I know some people struggle throwing things out. If your home is a sensory war zone, you're never going to be anywhere near close to regulation. You got kids, so you're never regulated. But the goal here is to get as close to a level of what baseline could even look like for you and your experience. Another thing I think is really important for us to try and navigate when we're talking about support systems is stop doing it all. Delegation is not failure. It's actually sustainability. Right? If you're partnered and that partner is capable, make the mental load visible. Stop holding it all in your head. Get it on a whiteboard. Get it on a spreadsheet. Get it out of your brain. And this is where like some people kind of struggle. Like your house may not be Martha Stewart anymore. Like it may not be this beautiful envision that you had growing up. You might have a whiteboard on your freaking wall in the living room because you need the visual cue. You need the reminder because you can't do it all in your head because A, you're overwhelmed, and B, you got ADHD. So stop doing it all. Now, if you're in a relationship where you're struggling with communication and I'm telling you to stop doing it all, and I'm suggesting this as an option on your a la carte service over here, and you're like, Leann, yeah, okay, good luck. My husband's an asshole or my partner's an asshole. Well, that is a whole other conversation. Maybe you guys should, reach out to a qualified professional and start talking about supports. How do you learn to effectively communicate so you don't have to stop doing it all? Because let me tell you something. If that's your interaction, the resentment is also freaking draining you. Draining you. The next thing, talking about draining and unhealthy and all of that, yeah, talk to your doctor is actually something that's going to be really important here. Because again, this isn't just about ADHD and relationships, even though I feel like I'm going on a freaking weird path here. Bring back perimenopause. If you are in perimenopause and you feel like you're losing your mind, you're not, consider getting support. Not for nothing, while we know, at least from the research and literature I've read, getting your hormones checked, there's no hormone test to telling you that you're in perimenopause. But let's just say your hormones are so depleted, a hormone test could pick that up. So get your hormones checked. Talk to somebody who is ADHD informed. I know that is also hard. I'm saying that it's hard. But there are more of us out there. Reach out. Because the combo of ADHD and hormone decline is not in your head. It's in your body. It's a real thing. And it's a layer of experience that we have to talk about more. And we have to provide more of a validation around. I think this is why I was compelled to do this episode today. Another thing is that, like how people say, like, okay, take a pause, self-care, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, I'm going to kind of say it. You need to find moments of regulation, not self-care. Not the light the candle and manifest peace, right? Kind. I'm talking about regulation. And that might mean hiding in your car for 10 minutes. It might mean saying no to one more play date. It might mean escaping to the bathroom and pretending you're taking a shit for 15 minutes or pretending like you have some emergency stomach virus. It might mean wearing earplugs at dinner. That's not rude. That's survival. That's responsible nervous system management. And that's what we talk about when we say find moments of regulation. Now, I feel like I could talk about this for hours, and that's not the point because I do want this to hit. I want you to take something out of it. This isn't clinical. I don't have enough research to throw at you here. I just have experience of not just what we do have in terms of the literature, my expertise on the relationships and the sexuality piece when it comes to ADHD, but I also have my clients' experiences and my own experience. I'm a mom of 3. I am 37 years old, 3 kids. I am in perimenopause, and I'm struggling immensely. It's hard. And my sleep is now finally starting to go down the shitter. I was hoping that wouldn't be one of the experiences I was having, but it is. And keep in mind, when the sleep starts to really get affected, all of the symptoms, all of your ADHD stuff starts to exacerbate. And keep in mind too, people don't talk a lot about this, but we do know that hormone cycles can actually affect stimulants. And I've noticed that I have a change in how effective my stimulants are because my hormones are up and down. I mean, like I don't have any more regular cycles. I'm full blown perimenopause. And it's hard. It's so hard to show up. It's so hard to have energy. Even as I'm like recording this, I'm exhausted. But it's important. It's important to say it out loud. I don't know. I think we've gotten to the point, hopefully, to every mom with ADHD who's been overstimulated, exhausted, and wondering why she can't do it all. You were never supposed to, right? The problem isn't you. The problem is the pressure. It's the system. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean like, okay, liberate, go change, because there are some things that we can't change, but it's really important to stop pretending that this is all fucking normal, because it's not. Stop pretending we're okay when we're clearly not. And let's use some of the energy we maybe still have or is reserved for the next day and start building lives and relationships that actually fit us. That means reaching out to a qualified professional and working with somebody to help you set your systems up for success. It means not feeling you have to do things in a version that society has told you. It's about doing what works for you and getting your head above the water and taking a breath. Thanks so much for joining me for today's episode. And if you enjoyed what you heard or something really resonated with you, it would mean the world if you subscribed, shared it with a friend, or left a review. That's how we keep these conversations going and growing. And until next time, take care of yourself and keep showing up in ways that matter to you, but more importantly, work with your brain and not against it.